they give the feedback to me as in, yes, I enjoy doing this assignment. I say, so I want you to enjoy doing that, the piece of research, not because you're given an assignment, but because you are doing something that you found out something. Oh, I learned so much from my auntie. Before doing this assignment, I don't know, I don't really know her. Yeah. So I say I enjoy doing it. So I feel that in that situation, learning has taken place.
Because it became personal, and it became valuable for
it's
the learner.
So I'm not doing an assignment because you asked me to do an assignment.
True.
I'm doing something, it's like a piece of research, but I find enjoyment doing it.
I think if we miss that point, that will bridge us to the new mental model actually.
Yes.
If the objective or the learning outcome is clear and established by the learner, not by the teacher, okay, the learner, then it has now a personalized, thing. It's now becoming my learning outcome, not my teacher's learning outcome. Okay, that's the idea. That's why sometimes prescriptive learning outcome is not good. I think what the school is missing is to give the objective of the course and let the teacher help the students develop their own learning outcome. In that way, you are giving the students the idea right from the very start, it is your responsibility to learn.
Wow. That means they actually come up with what they want to learn.
Yes. By understanding the objective of the course, okay, the students together with the teacher can now sit down and say, how do you want this to be achieved?
But wouldn't that be bordering on humanism then?
Well, it is really humanism. We are now in the stage where we are giving, premium to the individual. That's the idea, to give the personal touch in learning. I asked you to watch the video. I don't know if you came across with the Susan and Robert video on constructive alignment. You can still check it out with that website in the YouTube. You can just type in Susan and Robert. It's very popular in the YouTube. Okay? Yeah. There are two types of students in our classroom. Most often two types. These are the two types of students you have. Susan, great. This is something nice. This is something I like to pursue. Okay? And this is Robert. Isn't it?
Yeah, you can see that on their faces anyway.
You can! So, they came up with this description and they have a very nice video to characterize the two. But this is the baseline information that they are sending. That there are students who are intrinsically, okay, motivated, and there are students who are not. Okay? So for them, there are internal motivation and there is external motivation. Okay? When the student comes to your class and say, Miss, can you give us the pointers for the exam or the final so that we can pass? My objective is just to get an A. Is that an external or internal motivation?
External.
It's an external motivation.
That's not the me.
Reward.
Just not like this.
Yeah, just like us before, isn't it? We were trained to be like that.
Even now.
And even now, our kids are being forced to train like that, isn't it? Hey, be good in your class, okay? What do you have tomorrow? What kind of exam? Come on, let's have a review.
It's not only that, even at our master's level, we are doing the same thing.
Is it because of the system that we have actually here?
Yes, the educational system that we experienced long time ago is patterned after that. Why? Primarily because the educational psychology that was introduced is based on this model. Changing behavior is the definition of learning in the psychology of education before. Okay? So when you use change in behavior as a definition of learning, then you will have a problem. It doesn't mean the person is behaving differently, doesn't mean
That's why we have the product of the education system, basically basically easy for the government to handle.
This is the easiest to handle and to administer. Why? Because you're just following a pattern.
Yes.
You know, you are just patterning and putting them in a box, you know. That's why all 7 years old will go to grade 1. Who says so?
That's why Sir Ken Robinson actually made a statement. He said that our education system is pretty much like a factory.
Yeah,
You
because
just
it's
produce
industrial
products.
model.
Yeah. Industrial model.
I think I still have a CPT on the 5 learning orientations sometime June. I will discuss from behaviorism to constructivism, the 5 orientations of learning.
Yes.
You know? So this is how we are now trying to reflect on what we are doing now. What is wrong? What is not working anymore? This is not working anymore.
But
Students must be internally motivated.
so
not
is
externally.
constructivism actually a process or is it a praxis?
It is a theory and it's the principle now. It's emerging as the most popular approach, especially in learning, constructivism.
So it is no longer the process, or is it?
It is a process because it's a practice. You know, you need to do something in order to arrive at the alignment.
May I ask, you know the Americans, the education system, they actually advocate constructivism. And if you look at the American kids, they're very vocal. They can be vocal, but they're nowhere.
I think what is missing in the approach and you know the culture is different. I think the Eastern is us from Asia especially. It is the value that is different. you know.
Yes.
Different
How we
approach.
value the learning. Here in Asia, education is valued differently. You know, every family would like to see you educated.
Yeah.
For them, the model is still the same and it's no longer working. Even though they move to certain constructivist perspective, what is not working is that their learning is still learning for work.
Yes.
Yeah?
Here also we are still learning for work as well.
That is the failure in some emphasis. We're still learning for work.
Yes.
We're not learning for life.
Yes.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's what I'm saying. In
Yeah.
America, they're doing what we are going to do now, but they
But the constructive alignment is the one that is so aligned to lifelong learning. You know?
Yes.
And that is what we are missing. If we connect lifelong learning and use the right theories and perspective, then we can change the educational system. But it will take some time because we need to retrain and retool again teachers.
Yes, definitely.
Because it will be difficult.
It will be very difficult.
Yes.
Which is
Change the
difficult.
mindset.
Because one government is dictating what learning is all about,
Yeah.
isn't it? What education is all about.
It's not only that, we also have to deal with discrimination.
That's another
And
thing. That's another
it's a
cultural
huge-
issue.
Yeah, it's a huge cultural issue in the education system.
So I think what is important here is when it comes to student models, we need to go away with the external motivations. You know, don't give them the emphasis of A's. Don't give them the emphasis of getting high marks and all these things because it's not working. It's not sustainable. Once you give that prize, it's all over. It's not internally desired by students to learn. Start by telling them, hey class, you're in this class not because you will be graded, but because you want to learn. So if this is not your objective, you're on the losing end. I'm not going to pay, they will not reduce my pay if you fail, isn't it? I will have the same pay, so whether you like it or not, you have to learn.
Some
And that is
institutions
something.
Some institutions you lose your job.
Yeah, I mean, but who? Whose teachers are removed just because they failed students? Nobody.
Very
Isn't it? Nobody. Because the teachers say, I'm not in control. I just deliver the content. Isn't it? That's the idea. But if we will have to work on this framework, I think the idea is to set the tone, especially in the beginning, to let them discover their internal motivation. Why are you here in this class? Why are you attending? Why are you taking this course? How do you think it will benefit you? Because if you cannot answer this question, can step out of the class if you like.
But this takes
Isn't
a lot of teacher's personality.
True.
It involves the teacher as a person.
That's why if we're not going to change teachers' mental model,
Yeah.
we have a very big problem.
Yeah.
That's why this module is not really teaching you a trick.
No.
This module is changing our mental models, whether we like to change or not. That's the point, isn't it? So you will discover here the second one, which is crucial, the teacher models. There are 3 levels according to Biggs. Where are you? The level 1 is your perspective of the student. As a teacher, you always say, oh, my student is poor, my student is lazy, my student is blah, blah, blah. That's why they fail, you know. They don't like to talk to my class, they don't like to engage. It's my student, it's their fault. That's teacher 1. The teacher 2 is what we are always doing also now, which is we try to teach the teachers some tricks on how to sustain attention. You know, some teachers needs to perform quite a lot, like showing nice videos, creating jokes and everything, just to sustain the attention.
Guilty.
There's most of it. You will be worse, you are the level 1.
But there are a lot of level 1 and level 2, I tell you. Here, you are trying to make an idea that you want to please the students. That's why it's what you do. The first level is what the students are, how you perceive them. The third level is so difficult because here, the question is what students do, what they should do in the class in order for them to learn. Okay? So unless we reach this point, then it will be very difficult.
But if, Dr. Angelo, if you have a class of, say, 24, 25, and you're teaching language,
Okay.
how can we actually focus on what they do? Half the time, you are actually fighting with them over their attention on focusing on the lesson or focusing on something that they're doing there. The class is so huge sometimes that you cannot control.
True, the limitation is there as well. Okay? Constructivist approach, yes, we'll have to work with smaller classes. Okay? Now that we have bigger classes, the only creativity that I can share to you is to break them into groups. You must know how to manage group in a class or different groups, okay? Because the idea here is to empower them to realize that it is not you who is the center, it is them, okay? By giving them certain responsibilities in connection with how they will achieve something, I tell you, students are also responsible. The thing is, we always insist on level 1. We always have a perception you cannot do it.
Actually I do level 3. In fact, most of my classes are in groups, and usually I'll have a leader. I'll assign a leader, and even I don't stay in front of the class to teach. When they do peer correction and all, I get students to come out.
Yeah, true.
To ask questions and to write. But you will always have a few, or maybe 1 or 2.
Definitely. You will have outliers. You cannot get everybody attended. But these people will eventually realize that they will be on the losing end because they are not benefiting much on the experience. We cannot control it because the idea here is for us to create the condition. But that condition is not to convince everybody. That condition will just let them decide whether I will participate or not.
I guess that's the reason why we need to know our learners well in order to create the activities.
That is the first step to constructivism, knowing who they are. Okay, why is it called alignment? First, it is constructively based.